Good morning, friends. Welcome back to that 1870s homestead. Off-grid cabin weekend this weekend. I am here. Rachel is not. She is down in South Carolina this weekend babysitting our grandson. I took a trip up here mostly because it's mid-September. It's my favorite time of the year to be here. But I have a new solar battery setup that we're going to test out this weekend. I haven't done anything like this. I haven't looked at anything new in probably a year. Company reached out to us. Hey, we got something brand new. It's just coming out today. The day that you see this video is the day that the product released. And I've never worked with them before, and I figured, you know what, let's give it a shot. I've heard good things about this company. I've heard good things about their products, but I've never tried them. So we'll take a look at that today. But before we do that, it is 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning, 72 degrees, something like that. The sun is shining. I talked to my neighbor yesterday. I think he texted me and said, hey, buddy, the salmon are in the river. So if you've been following our channel for a long time, I've been coming up here to our off-grid cabin probably every year for the last 4 or 5 years trying to catch a salmon, and I haven't been able to catch one yet. So before we get going on our project for today, we're gonna cruise down to the river. We'll take a look at what's going on down there, see if I see any fish. And then we'll get back up here at the cabin, we'll get things set up, and I'll show you what I'm working with today. I didn't see any salmon, not in this stretch of the river at least. If you stick around till the end of this video, we'll head down to my favorite, that big sand hill that I usually fish at. We'll head down there at the end of the video. We'll check down there. We'll see if there's any salmon down there. And if there are some, I know what I'm doing tomorrow. Move it. So I think I got most everything set up. It's gonna be a couple hours before the sun moves into a good opening in the trees above before I get some good sun on the solar panels. But if you're new here to our channel, our cabin is completely off the grid. We have no grid power here. So the inside of the cabin is wired like a traditional house. We have a fuse panel. It's wired like a normal house would be. We have outlets, we have light switches. And the source of the power is this little shed behind me. There's an extension cord that you can use to plug into a generator. In the first couple of years we were coming here to our cabin, we would bring our Honda generator here with us and we would fire that thing up to power our cabin. Worked perfect. But in the middle of the woods, you kind of don't like the noise. So we quickly started looking at different solar options, battery systems, and we made the move. We haven't brought our gas powered generator here in probably 3 years now. I think we've been running everything off of solar and different types of various battery systems. So what I'm testing here this weekend is the ECOFLOW Delta 2, the successor to the original Delta model that they released a few years back. The original Delta came in for like battery capacity right around 1008 watt hours of power. The new model, the Delta 2, comes in at 1,024 watt hours. There's a few other differences between them. Some newer technology here. This one does have like Bluetooth capabilities, Wi-Fi. The battery chemistry in the Delta 2 is different than the original Delta. The original Delta had lithium, traditional lithium batteries, versus the Delta 2 now comes with lithium iron phosphate batteries. The difference that you get there is usually two main things. One is weight. Lithium iron phosphate is actually heavier in general. And the second item is longevity of the battery, as in how many times can you charge this to full and drain it to full before battery capacity is decreased by 80%. So with traditional lithium batteries, the original Delta model, you could charge that 500 times, cycle it 500 times before battery capacity would decrease by 80%. With the Delta 2 lithium iron phosphate batteries, that number jumps to about 3,000 cycles. So if you use it just about every day, you're looking at almost 10 years of longevity from the batteries. Another big factor and difference between these two is the weight. I mentioned lithium iron phosphate is generally heavier. This actually weighs less than the original Delta. This comes in at around 27 pounds. Handles are nice. I can easily pick it up with one hand though, which makes it nice. I have some larger units at home that really take two hands. They're close to 60 pounds. This is much lighter, much more portable. The original Delta came in at about 30 pounds. So it does come with a few accessories, a power cord to plug into the wall to charge it with AC power. I did not bring that with me this weekend because I have no AC power here. I don't have a grid that I can use to charge this. I can only use solar. What's cool about the power cord though is that it's just a power cord. Like it doesn't have like a big power brick like some units have. Whatever would be encased in that brick is actually inside here. So it's basically just you plug in a cord, you plug it into your wall. It does come with a car charger that you can use if you're driving somewhere, you want to charge it with your car on your way there, you can do that as well. So before we get into the capabilities of what this is capable of outputting and how you get power back into it, I want to share some knowledge, experience, wisdom, whatever you want to call it, with you guys about using these. Because I've been using, not this one because it just came out today, various units like this for the last 3 or 4 years. And pretty early on in the process, I made a rule for myself. And that rule was I will rarely ever charge this unit or any of my other units that I own with grid power. It's just a weird rule that I made for myself that I will always only charge them with solar. And the reason behind that, and it kind of goes, I guess this kind of ties in with one of EcoFlow's slogans behind their company, in that it's not just a battery. And while you can treat this as just a battery, you can charge it only from the wall and pick it up and carry it somewhere and use it just like a battery. In fact, I did that just the other day. I needed to do an oxalic acid vaporization treatment on my beehive way out in back of my backyard. I don't have power back there. I just take this with me. I don't need solar panels for a 10-minute task. A lot of people buy these for off-grid situations. Like the grid's gonna be down for 3 days. I just lost power for 4 days. I'm going camping for 2 days. There aren't many units that will power people's stuff for 2, 3, 4 days at a time without being able to put power back in. So get yourself some solar panels, know how to use them so that when those types of situations come up, you know what you're doing, you know what your capabilities are. You know that, hey, with this solar panel, I can recharge this in 10 hours or in 4 hours or in 5 hours. Know what your capabilities are, so when those situations come, you're not like scrambling trying to figure out how the heck do I do this, because it's not the time to do that. For power output on the front, there's 4 USB-A ports. These 2 are just normal traditional. These 2 are fast charging. 2 USB-C, which are 100 watts, which means if you have something like a MacBook Pro or a MacBook or something like that that charges with USB-C, these will work for that, as well as charging phones or anything else that uses USB-C for that matter. So back here in the rear of the unit, there's 6 AC outlets. They turn on and off with this little switch right here. They're capable of outputting 1,800 watts of power with a surge capacity of like 2,700 watts. So if you have something like a large appliance or a large tool that draws a lot of power when it first starts up, that's where that surge factor comes into play. They also can do something called X boost, which you can turn on or off on the unit. And what that does is that will give you the capability of outputting 2200 watts continuous power. And it does this by lowering the amperage and the voltage. So not all things that you plug in will support that lower voltage and lower amperage. Things like heaters and things like that, they'll generally work pretty well. Things that are more sensitive in nature, they may not. Down here is a cigarette style 12 volt output. It turns on and off with that little switch right there. This one is the input for AC power. So if you're plugging this into a grid power outlet in your house to charge it, that plugs right into there. The capabilities of charging this unit with that plug are pretty crazy. When I first plugged it in, it ramps up, all the fans kick on full blast, and you literally can charge this thing from 0 to 80% in like 50 minutes, because it basically feeds 1200 watts of raw power right into this thing, and it will charge it really fast. This input right here, this is for the car charger. The car charger will plug into there to charge, and solar panels also will plug into that location. We'll plug in my solar panels and see if we got good sunlight now. So moved you guys off to the shade, so hopefully there's not too much glare. Yeah, it's pretty bad still. With the solar panel plugged in, I'm getting some decent sun now. We're putting in 161 watts of input power. Battery capacity is currently at 84%, and over here on the side, this says it's going to take 1 hour to finish topping this off. I'm going to pull the solar panels now, so that will drop to 0, and we'll plug in the cabin. I'm just plugged in my cabin. I intentionally left 2 lights on, and at least a couple of my camera batteries are in there charging. And it's telling us that the cabin is currently using 30 watts of power, which is pretty low. The display times out after a little bit. So about 31 watts of power. And then this estimation, this is now how many hours remaining you have with this amount of given charge. And it's going to bounce around for a little bit because you basically just unplugged solar and plugged in the cabin. So it's trying to figure out, doing recalculations on the fly. Looks like we're settled in at about 12 hours now, using 40 watts of power. Well, back up to 13. So it's going to fluctuate. It's going to bounce around based on what your usage is. You know, when you talk about watt hours of power, this can store 1024 watt hours, which what does that mean? If you're consuming 100 watts, let's say instead of 41, my cabin was using 100 watts per hour, comes out to about 10 hours we're going to be able to run this for. So this number right here of 12 as an estimate right now, part of that is because we're at 84%. The other part of it is just efficiency. So anytime you're converting battery power into AC power, you're going to lose some. You're going to lose some factors along the way there. So there's always some losses, whether you're using 12 volt power, USB power, 120, you're always going to lose a little bit along the way as that power is converted for you. So I wanted to show you guys the app. There's an app that you can download on your phone that will sync to this with Bluetooth or Wi-Fi and kind of show you what it's capable of doing. So you can see here on my screen, it showed my recharge time at 1 hour and 53 minutes. I have 163 watts of power coming in from the solar panels, which are right over that way a little ways. And I'm outputting 41 watts of power to provide lights and charge my camera batteries inside the cabin. As far as capacity and size goes, I would probably call this a medium unit. 1024 watt hours. If you remember my example, your 100 watt light bulb, turn it on, 100, 100, 100. It's going to run for about 10 hours. Small units, I would probably say at less than 1,000. This would be a medium, 1,000 to 1,500. And large units would probably be 2,000 or above. So this does have an expansion port on the side. You can add extra batteries to this if you find that, hey, I need my 100 watt light bulb to run for 20 hours or 30 hours. There's a Delta 2 expansion battery that you can get that will double the capacity. And I think you can even use the Delta Max expansion battery that will basically triple the capacity. So there's definitely options. Make sure if you're shopping for something like this, you go into it knowing what your capacity needs are ahead of time. You know, I need to power my fridge. Well, figure out how many watts your fridge uses in a given day, how many days you're going to need, and then size accordingly. But then don't ever forget, like I said, my tip from earlier, how are you going to get power back into this? So factor that in too when you're doing your shopping, and size your solar panels accordingly. So at the beginning of this video, you probably caught me setting up the solar panel that EcoFlow sent over to test. This is their 220 watt bifacial foldable portable solar panel. It is IP68 water rated, so it can sit out in the rain. I've left it out in the rain before. It's been perfectly fine. There's a couple little spots that I'll show you here where like the plastic overlay started to peel off a little bit from the rain. I emailed them. I said, hey, is this a problem? Is this going to degrade the water rating? They're like, nope, that's normal. Just ignore it. It will not cause any harm. Now, what bifacial solar panel means, it's kind of a new technology. There's actually solar panels on the front and on the rear, and it kind of combines the two together to try to get a little bit more power out of the unit. And the rear ones they call it backscatter. So any light hitting the ground here, they're hoping is going to bounce back up and hit the rear. I've been getting between 160 and 180 watts, which according to EcoFlow is normal for a 220 watt panel. No panel that you ever buy, unless it's labeled incorrectly, will give you exactly what they say it's going to. I have a pair of rigid 200 watt panels in the house that I can only get like 350 watts out of them. So keep that in mind. No panel will ever give you what is truly labeled as. This seems to work really well. We used it the last trip to the cabin to charge a different unit because we didn't have the Delta 2 at the time, and it works well. It typically the consistent 160 to 180 range. It's quite portable. It is glass. There is glass inside of here, so it is fragile. If you drop this on some concrete, you could break it and shatter the glass. So keep that in mind. It's a little bit cumbersome trying to set up with this weird hanging situation here that it has going on. So it can be a little bit cumbersome, and if your son moves on you, it can be kind of a pain to try to move this whole contraption around a little bit. But it does seem to work pretty well. They are a little bit expensive. I think I looked up this morning on Amazon, and this panel runs about $500, which is quite a bit of money, but you do gain some portability. If you're looking for something at home, so I'm at home, I want to be able to power my freezers and my refrigerator when I lose power. Don't really look at portable panels, look at rigid ones, like solid construction ones that you can set somewhere permanently on your property or carry out and set like on your back deck or something like that. Those will be not as portable, but they're good for permanent situations, you know, permanent mount situations, and they're probably also cheaper too, because you're not paying for the portability in a solar panel. I think my next step, I'm going to plug the solar panel back in. We'll top this back off to 100% power, disconnect the solar panel at that point, and I'm going to run my cabin just off of this for the rest of the weekend. I will circle back at the very end of this video and share with you my thoughts on the capacity, on how well it performed. I do not have a comparable unit of the exact same size to compare it to, but I do have smaller and I have bigger. So we'll see how a medium-sized unit fares. Warranty, they do come with a 5-year warranty, which is good. It's about half the life of the batteries. And they are supposed to be sending me a coupon code, a 5% off coupon code. If they send that to me, I will leave that in the description down below this video. And free stuff. This just went on sale today. It was just released today. For the first week that these are on sale, if you buy one, they will give you a free like waterproof bag. Kind of fits over it, so if it rains on it, it keeps it dry, and it's also like a carrying case, I think. So something to keep in mind. I do not want like I said, I have your guys' best interest in mind. I do not want you to buy something if it's not right for you. So do your research, know your size, know what your requirements are, know how much power you need. And if this just happens to fit that, we got you guys a discount. So if not, do not buy it if it's not right for you. They do have this expansion battery now, which is awesome. So, you know, you buy this and you realize I needed 30 hours of 100 watt light bulb instead of 10. Expansion battery will fix that for you. So cool option. Let's go see if the fish are down at the river. If they are, I'm going fishing. And I'll see you guys back at the very end of the video with my final thoughts. So I don't know where they are. I don't know where my neighbor saw them. I guess I need to send them a text. Maybe this river does connect to another larger section of river, so maybe they're like on the large section, but not the small one yet. I don't know. If you sticked all the way around to the end, thank you. I did eventually find the fish. I texted my neighbor. He's like, check out my property. He's got some deep holes over there. Sure enough, there was fish. I fished yesterday for about 4 hours. I did not have any luck. You could see them. They were sitting there, right there in the water. I tried probably 8 different lures for 4 hours, just trying to fish right past their mouth, and none of them were interested at all in biting anything that I had to offer. But I promised you guys I would give you guys an update at the end of this video on how the EcoFlow Delta 2 performed for me this weekend. We started this video on a Friday. I topped it all the way up to 100%, unplugged my solar panels, packed them up in my truck, and ran just off of reserve power for the rest of the weekend. So that would be Friday night, listening to the radio, running lights, recharging my batteries. Saturday morning, making breakfast, running my lights. Saturday night, which was last night, I listened to the radio for probably 5 hours last night because it gets dark early now. And now here Sunday morning, same thing, lights, power. I ran the vacuum cleaner. I vacuumed the entire cabin. And we're sitting at 6% power, or 6 hours remaining on battery, which is, what does it say that this is? 35% remaining. So we went from 100% down to 35. I did find out one other cool thing on the app, in that if you go here to output, you can actually turn the unit on and off remotely from Bluetooth. So now it's off. Should be coming back on. It takes a second. Here we go. So in the mornings, I can actually, if I wanted, I could leave that thing on in standby mode at night. When I wake up in the morning, just hit a button and boom, my power's restored. It will use some power when it's in that standby mode, but not very much at all. I'm gonna have to look into that a little bit more. So thought that was pretty cool. It seems, so overall, does it work well? Is it a good size for our cabin? Basically about 2 days for me, down to 35% power. If I had sun, I could top this thing off easily every single day. We run through some days here at the cabin where I might come here for an entire weekend and it's clouds the whole time. 3-4 days of nothing but clouds. So long term, this one, I probably would want to invest in the expanded battery just for more capacity for us, but for you, it may be like the perfect size. So thanks a lot for coming along on today's video. I appreciate you guys, and we will see you on the next one. Thought I was making good time leaving early. It's 8:15. Just heading out the driveway. And looks like have some more work to do. See you guys later.